teach. I'm going to preach. I'm going to teach. Is that okay? That's why I brought a board, because I want to tell you a whole lot of stuff. So tonight, you're going to get ready. And the only notes I want you to take is just to draw pictures similar to what I'll be doing, because it's just a different way. But let me tell you something. When I was in matric, I was 16. Who's 16 here? Yeah. It's frightening. I was in matric and I was 16. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know how I was going to go about it. So I knew I couldn't drive. And because I couldn't drive that year, I knew I could just waste that year. So I did. Then the following year I finished, I was 17 and I still couldn't drive. I was turning 18 in June. So I thought to myself, I'm going to go hang out and learn how to drive a bit. Because you know when you've been in matric and you've watched all your friends drive and you can't drive, how many of you know that could be the most frustrating thing in the world? Yeah. I'm just really not cool. I mean, I don't even know why I thought I should drive. I was like a child from Soweto. We used taxis. It was all cool. And when I got there, I was like, this is a different world. People can drive around here. And then you get that moment, for those of you who've been, have you ever been for your driver's license?
Yeah.
Today, did you get it? I want to tell you congratulations. How did you feel last night? Were you nervous? Were you worried? Because, you see, when you're preparing for your driver's license, it's the, I felt so nervous. I remember when I went on the day. I was shaking so hard. I was in this car with dual pedals so that the instructor can brake when they need to. So it's like I was in this car, I was shaking so hard, his pedals were shaking as well. I mean, it was so bad that when I did everything. I did the yard test so cool, I was in there, and then I got to the road, and then he looked at me and he said, we stole the car. For those of you who've taken your driver's license, you know when you stole the car, you fail immediately. But he didn't tell me that. He just said to me, no, just turn right. And I was like, cool. And this is just turn right again. This is like interesting. I'm like finished. Like we came back now. I was like, cool. Then when we got there, stopped the car. He looked at me and he said, sorry, you failed. I was like, really? He said, yes. He said, and you know how they perform when you fail? It's like he's achieved something. He's like crosses the whole thing and just tells you, you're a failure. Like it would have been saying to me, you're a loser. I was like, cool, but I don't even support Orlando Pirates. So that was that, right? That was that. But I want to tell you why I tell you that story. Because man, on that day, I got home, I was so dejected, I was doing so badly. Because in most of my high school career, I hadn't failed that much until that day. And then I thought, no, I'm going to build up the courage, I'm going to go again. So I went. You know how you get a booking? It takes you 6 months or something. So after 6 months I went. At this time I felt like I was turning like 20, but like I was like 18 heading towards 19. So I went, and when I got there, I was doing so well. I was feeling so confident because I'd been driving illegally for a while. Like I know you guys don't do that. I was just like, and then I was doing the yard test and reversing, and then I hit the pole. And then the guy looked at me, and I saw that face because I knew it too well. I'd seen it before. And he said to me, you failed. You know when you fail your driver's license twice, how much of a loser you feel like that?
Yeah.
So I got home, I was like ready to jump off a building, man. I was like, I couldn't drive. Like at that point, I was a youth pastor at our church and I couldn't have a driver's license. You know how bad that is?
Sure.
It's like awful. It's like messes your whole career. It messes your whole thing. It's like, it was a necessity for my job. Now I couldn't do my job. So eventually I went the third time. And this time I had a bribe with me. It's the easiest way to get your license, just bring some money with you. Hey, how's it, man? How'd you like these notes? They're very nice. And I'll never forget the day, the anxiety that went with it. All of the stress that went with it. You'll be glad to know that I only got my license after the third time. So there is hope for you, right? For those of you who get it the first time, right, that's pretty impressive. But me, it took me 3 times. But each time, there was a new lesson. I don't know why I told you this story, because it's got nothing to do with what I'm going to preach about. But anyway, what I want to really speak to you about tonight is these simple words. Peace. Now, I don't like rap. I don't like it that much. But I always fascinated when rappers finish their thing, they tune, peace, yo. So like I was prepping for what I should speak to you about, and the Lord said to me, peace, yo. So tonight I want to speak to you about peace. And I want to talk to you about and I want to tell you the story. Let's start with a guy. Let's draw a man. Let's call him, give me a name. Right? Who? God? This is not Sunday school. We don't just answer everything, Jesus. Who? Tino. Okay, I can't hear you, so I want to call him Tino. Right? Let's assume this guy was created by God. So I'm going to tell you the whole Bible in just one preaching. Tonight, let's say this is God. God creates this guy. And then this guy, as you know, Genesis chapter 1 says, hey guy, what you have to do is tend the earth, dominate, have authority over it, tend it, look after it, grow the thing. So this guy decides he's going to become a farmer. So I don't know what we call him. We call him Tino the farmer, right? So that's the world he grows up in. He grows up in a world where his only provision comes from the crops that he grows. I'm going to draw some crops. These are crops here. It's like, you're going to keep this at the end of it. It's worth so much money. I want to sign it. So he grows like crops. But he knows one thing, that the only way these crops are going to grow is if the sun is shining. Because you need the sun for here, and you need the rain to come. Right? So immediately he knows he's in a good space when these crops are growing. How many of you know he knows he's in a bad state when the crops aren't growing?
Yeah.
So what does he learn about his own relationship with God? He learns a few things. He learns that so long as he keeps doing what he's doing, God will keep doing what he's doing.
Sure,
so God will provide the rain so long as he keeps looking after the grass. That's why when sin enters the world, and kind of after that, God says, you will work the grass on which the land on which you work will be cursed. He understands that it's only God who makes this thing easy or hard. Okay? You still with me so far? It's going to get complicated.
Good.
So what happens after this is that and we can get to Chronicles, he understands principle number 1, he understands that it's God who provides for him. That's the first thing he gets. And the second thing he understands is that God's provision for him is dependent on his behavior.
Sure.
If he behaves well, God will give him more rain and the crops will grow. If he behaves badly, the rain will stop and these crops won't grow. So now when you read in 1 Chronicles chapter 6, when they open the temple, they begin to pray and they say, God, when we've sinned, when we've turned away from our wickedness. 1 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. You know the wristbands that we wear? It says, when we repent from that, will you heal our land? Because people understood that so long as they were doing good, then the rain would come. But when they were not doing so well, the rain would stop. Now so the first understanding of peace is that you are in peace with God so long as your performance is good. The second thing, and here's the thing that I want you to get, is that if this guy wanted to have children, now tonight, I'm not going to talk to you about how to make children, because that can get quite tricky quite quickly. But what this guy understood is that he would have to go to another God, or he would have to go to a God. If he went to God, he would say to God, God, I'd like to have children. And then God would say, cool, you've been good, have children. And if his wife fell pregnant, now let's draw a wife, what should we call his wife's name? Tamsin. So Tamsin and him, if she fell pregnant, then how many of you know God was good? But if she didn't fall pregnant, you can remember with Samuel's mother, she's cursed. So what's the lesson here? That if you want to have children, best you be good with your God. Whoever. So that's the first thing. That's the first chapter. in the story I'm going to tell you, because the story builds on. It's a story about people who start to understand their relationship with God and all the things that they need. That's why. But you know, when the story continues, this God stops being the only God, because these guys recognize that actually it seems as though it rains on the good and on the evil. So they have multiple gods. The second gods that we talk about is that there were many. There were many gods with a small g. And what these gods would do is that if people wanted to fall pregnant, these people would have to go to these gods and make offerings. Some offerings were so bizarre that actually they would have to give kids as an offering. So like now this family, Timo and Tamsin, T and T, would then go to these gods and they would say, "Gods, we'd like more children." And then this god, in fact one of these gods was a god called Artemis, which when you get to Ephesians, you start to understand Artemis. This god would then say to them, "Sacrifice your child." How many of you are firstborns? Okay, many of you are firstborns. Let me give you the bad news. If these gods had their way, you wouldn't exist.
Sure.
Because your parents would have to offer you up so that they could have more children. So what's your understanding of peace? Is that peace requires a sacrifice. Still with me?
Yeah.
The story is about to get interesting by the day. But what if you didn't want children? What if you did something wrong? What if you slept with your girlfriend? What if you cheated on a test? What if you did that? What would you do? You would have to go back to God, to whoever your God was, and make what they call a peace offering, which was an offering of some kind. You could offer 2 doves, you could offer whatever. And so this family recognizes that the only way they can get together with this God is to make an offering of some sort. So now here's the thing. Not only was there a need for a sacrifice, there was also a need for an offering. It's the only way you can have peace. It's the only way you could experience this thing where your life is kind of cool. Like you feel like, I'm okay with God. Because most people always assumed they were not okay with God. They always assumed God was always going to do something to me. God was always going to stop the rain so that my crops don't grow and my cattle die. Or God was going to always stop me from having children. So all the cool stuff that I want to do, it ain't going to happen unless I'm nice to God. And so I go and I make an offering. Or maybe if I didn't offer enough sacrifice or do all of those things, then God wouldn't be cool with me. But isn't it fascinating that none of that has changed? So much of what we get taught today is that if you want God's approval, best you get your performance right.
Yeah.
Best you be a goody two-shoe. That's why so many people say, I don't want to go to church, because when I go to church, I'm not good enough for church.
Sure.
Because for this family, what they believed is that the only way they could enter the temple is if they were good enough. Is if they had peace with their God.
Sure.
So many people feel like God is punishing me when I do so many wrong things. So if I don't experience success, if I don't have children, if I don't do any of that, God must definitely be angry with me. And so God finds a way to punish me. This family knew one thing and one thing alone, which was the simple truth, is that for them, God was at a distance. And they were far from God. They knew that. The only people who were close to God were the priests. I'll draw a priest in a different color. The chosen ones, the superstars, those who get it right, those who are like youth pastors and cool people like that. They were the ones who could enter in and actually have like a meeting with God. How cool is that? So you know what starts to happen? Is that this family recognizes that I best be friends with these guys. Because if I'm friends with the priests, they can go in there and make intercession on my behalf. But you know what this family realizes? Is that we are not good enough. It's only these guys that are.
Sure.
The story gets better though. I'm going to go through a lot of scripture. There's a moment on the cross.
Come on.
Jesus comes on the earth. And you see, the story of Jesus is the most fascinating one. Because Jesus walks through the streets. And the first thing he says, or one of the few things that he does, is, can you remember the story about the woman with the issue of blood?
Yeah.
Think about that story logically. That woman had no right to come near Jesus. She wasn't the chosen one.
Yeah.
She wasn't a priest. She wasn't a superstar. But what happens is that Jesus makes it possible for her to come and touch the hem of his garment.
Sure.
And you know what's the cool thing about that? Is that Jesus looks at her and he says, daughter. What a strange concept. He moves God away from this idea of someone who is distant to someone who says, I can be your friend.
Come on.
I can be your father.
Yeah. Come
Makes
on.
it possible
Amen.
for this woman to come in. And you know, here's what's so cool. Have you ever noticed whenever Jesus heals somebody, whenever Jesus does something, the words that he speaks to them are always, peace be with you.
Yeah. Sure.
You're okay with me.
Hmm.
You're okay with me. So the first thing, you see why the cross is such a powerful thing, is that it takes so much of the Old Testament and it fulfills it. Because it says, where there was a need for a sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice was Jesus on the cross. Because it says this, where an offering needed to be given, the ultimate offering that was put could not be better than the offering on the cross. You've got to get this. Because here's the thing. Let me talk about you and I. And this is where, if you're wondering if I'm going with any of this, let's talk about Paul, because Paul is key in the early church, or in church anyways. Paul learns this powerful thing. And if you don't mind, actually you can pick any book that most of the books Paul writes. He always starts his word with these simple things. Grace and peace to you. We can go to Philippians chapter 1. In fact, why don't you go there? Because that's an incredible. If you got your Bible, go to Philippians chapter 1.